First and foremost, just to kind of say a few things about why we organise this program. Every year, alhamdulillah, we will have the opportunity to take as much benefit as possible from Ramadan, and this Ramadan, one of the brothers said, suggested that there's but there's sometimes some confusion amongst young people. First of all, is my voice okay? I don't need to raise my voice, everyone's fine, can hear. By the end of it, there probably will be people, so give me a shout if I can have a look, so, if you can't. What we're going to do, we're able to finish at 9:30, is that right? Right, okay. It's not going to be megally long, it's going to be quite a small basic program. What I'm going to do the first session in that we will go through what I call the essential fiqh of Sawm, and say the essential things, what is absolutely necessary for all of us to know in terms of things that we should do and things that we shouldn't do. And then we'll have a short kind of question and answer session, and I'm going to pass over to our learned brother, friend, Maulana Irfan Alida, who's going to give you kind of a final punch, right? A final punch. It's going to be a big punch, is that right?
Kick.
Is it going to be a kick? Sorry. Final big kick, right? Just to kick you out of the mustard here for tonight, and then hopefully get you ready to really roll when it comes to Thursday or Friday or Wednesday or Monday, Tuesday, whenever they decide the first of Ramadan is going to be. But inshallah, Thursday night is what most people are saying. So the idea is that we really get a good understanding of how we should, as Muslims, be in this state of fasting. As you know, it's a fard, it's an essential fard, and it's good to see, mashallah, some young faces as well, both on the sisters and the brother's side. And perhaps some of these young faces, it actually may not be fard upon you, because the first thing that we need to say is, of course, that just with any other of the fara'id, that means the essential things that you must do, it only applies to people who are past a certain age. And that's not it's not the number 12 or the number 11. You've got something in the mouth. Okay. So it's obviously a matter of balugha, a matter of taklif, which means you are now an adult person and you are accountable for your deeds. Now, if you're not at that stage, i.e. past the age of puberty, then it's not fard upon you. And as I said in the assembly earlier on, yesterday with the kids, for you might want to do a mini rosa, which is kind of half, and those of you who are parents have got young children this year, perhaps it might apply to you, because your children, as parents, we always want to encourage our children to start off in the right habits and do all the things which are absolutely necessary for adult Muslims. But we like to encourage youngsters. But this time the fast is going to be 14 and a half hours. In some days it's quite a lengthy fast, so perhaps we might want to rethink whether we are going to force our children to do that. I know one primary school just not so far away from here actually gave out a recommendation to Muslim parents, and what was so annoying was that the recommendation to Muslim parents came from a non-Muslim head, but that non-Muslim head of the school was obviously thinking about the health of the children, but also the attention span, because obviously she must have realised. But it was just ironic it came from this non-Muslim, while there was other Muslim staff in that school who didn't really recommend anything. So me, as parents, I would suggest that we make that decision if we think that it is going to be affecting our child's education, their attention span and the likes. Then alhamdulillah rabbil alameen, wassalatu wassalam ala sayyid al-mursaleen. Amma ba'd, a'udhu billahi minash shaitan ar-rajim, bismillahir rahmanir rahim. شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن صدق الله العظيم وصدق رسوله النبي الكريم ونحن على ذلك لمن الشاهدين والشاكرين والحمد لله رب العالمين. What we'll have a look at essentially, as I said, we're going to split it into two: the do's and don'ts, what you should and what you shouldn't do. And don't worry, those 4 questions which were very pertinently put on that poster, I don't know where the questions came from, I don't know if they were genuine or whether they were just made up by our marketing department, Mr. Sahib at the back there. But we will answer those questions. A lot of people have been, you know, they've kind of pricked up their ears and their eyes have kind of been, you know, draws a lot of people's attention. Can you open your fast with a fag? And as Brother Abdul Rahman on the radio, it just didn't sound right with his voice. You know, he's got such a mashallah, beautiful, eloquent voice, and then he suddenly said fag. It just didn't sound appropriate. But I will answer those questions. What was the other one?
Aftershave.
Aftershave, yeah. Can you know, people wearing aftershave? I remember at school, you know, this is one of the things that concerns people who are at school and at college and at work. You know, we're having this. We're in the state of Siyam, and normally we go get up in the morning and we want to get ready, and we brush our teeth. That's the obviously normal habit. And because we don't brush our teeth, we have this kind of odour coming from our mouths. And in fact, I shall start with that one of the first hadith that comes to mind, and that one is that the scent, or what we won't say it's not a scent, is it the smell or the odour, or perhaps even the bad odour, the bad smell, basically, in baby language, that comes from your mouth when you're in a state of roza, when you've got a fast. That bad smell, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's beloved Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, it's khayr min misk. It's better than misk in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Those of you who don't know what misk is, or musk, right? White musk is a kind of favourite for some people, right? It is the actual, right, misk itself, and I only recently discovered this when I was teaching about Aqidah. Said that Imam Shafi'i radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he talks about a mulberry tree as being one of the existence of God, one of the existence of, signs of the existence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the question was, how can a tree, you know, what's that got to do with the existence of God? Well, he says from one unique tree, right, four different things can go into that tree and extract the same thing, the leaf. I'm looking at that tree at the back there, but that's not a mulberry tree, but imagine 4 different creatures of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala: a bee, right, a silkworm, a goat, and what was the fourth one? A deer, right, thank you. Right, 4 different creatures of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala going to the same tree, right, and eating from the same leaves, but as a result of that, it creates 4 different things. The bee, when it goes to the mulberry tree and takes from its flower, right, produces honey. The silkworm, when it goes and it eats up the leaves, it produces silk. And the goat, when it eats the the leaves of the tree, it produces milk. And then lastly, the deer, when it eats it, and this is quite strange, when I first found this, I thought, how can that possibly be? You've all got belly buttons, right? The deer, when it eats from the mulberry tree, this is from Sayyidina Imam Shafi'i, when the deer eats the tree, it produces this natural misk, this natural scent called musk. And it comes and it's produced inside the belly button. Now, if you've ever had the chance to mess around with your belly buttons, you'll know that it's not exactly the best of all places in your body. It doesn't give off a nice scent at all, right? That's why we need to keep it clean all the time, right? But look at this beautiful nature of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that a deer creates this mist. So from the place which we would normally think to be not so nice, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala creates the most beautiful of all scents. And that is the scent which the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam says that, in fact, he, in another narration, that this is one of them. We all know that he liked, amongst many things, he liked scent generally. And misk is one of the greatest of all scents. And in the Shama'il, when we were doing this as well, we learned that the misk is one of the scents of Jannah. And so, this is why he says that don't worry about this bad smell that's going to come from your mouth, right? Because what you need to be concerned about is what the Prophet ﷺ said about that, and he said that this is this smell, this odour that comes from your mouth that is bad in our eyes and in other people's eyes. It does smell bad, isn't it? Right? Other people might think it's bad, but the Prophet ﷺ, what he says, if other people are saying it's bad, forget that. This is what we need to remember. What he said was that smell is better in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and in his eyes than musk. Alright, so that's the first kind of note. And I suppose carrying on from that, I think what I'll do is, because I know those questions are kind of beating at my mind, and they'll probably be at yours, and then we'll go into the detail a little bit more. Let's take that one straight off about the smoking, because I've just been reminded by Brother Sahib that whatever you do, don't forget to answer these questions. And I'm conscious that I probably will, if I carry on with this order, I probably will answer, I forget those questions. Opening your fast, okay? The iftar or futur, as we say in Arabic. This is, of course, just like anything, it's an essential part, and it's what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the beloved Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, that moment, right, when you are finally opening your fast after do you want to come in, brother? There's plenty of space over here. Yeah? But that moment when you're finally opening your fast, just the second before it is one of the greatest moments of all of your time. It is one of the most favourite moments that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala likes, if you like. And this is why the ulama have always told us that the dua that you make at that time, right, is really the best of all times that you can have for making dua. This time last year I had the honour of spending Ramadan, actually it was the last 10 days, spending Ramadan in Medina Sharif. And it was the most beautiful experience. I would seriously recommend this to all of you, that if you've never had the opportunity to plan for it, okay, if you can't this year, then inshallah in the next year, but definitely plan one time in your life, definitely spend some time in Medina Sharif to open to do your siyam. Absolutely amazing place, magical. And one of the things that you notice all of a sudden there, everyone's busy doing the Quran and doing the normal reading during the full day. But just as it comes up towards iftar time and all the food starts getting laid out, everyone, not everybody, but the majority of people will stand, okay, and they'll have their hands raised up and they'll all be doing their own personal private prayers. It really is a beautiful, beautiful time. So that is a very, very, very special time. Right? The reason why I'm telling you all this will come clear in a second. The question was, can you open your fast with a cigarette? I.e., if you are addicted to cigarettes, and I hope that many of us here are not, right? But if we are in that state, and it happens to the best of us, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us from that. It is an evil habit, I will say that. And I will also say that if it's not haram, it's very close to haram. And I know there are some discussions, some scholars say that well, it's makruh and makruh tanzihi or makruh tahrim. There's two categories of makruh. There's like if you like, there's the lesser form and there's the higher form. The higher form of makruh means disliked. There's no doubt about it, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala dislikes it. Alright? And what I say to people who kind of get into this argument, well, do you want to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or do you want to make him unhappy? Right? So let's, without kind of even going into the technicalities of is it makruh or is it makruh tanzihi or is it makruh tahrim or is it haram or is it mubah, whatever, right? Without going into those categories, we know for definite that the Prophet ﷺ said that, and he in fact turned people away from the masjid who had like a bad odour coming from them, right? And this is, of course, in the state of salah in the masjid. Just normal people coming into the masjid, and he would prevent them. He would tell them off, right? He would say, go away and sort that smell out if you like. And if you're a smoker, the one thing that you can put as much aftershave and everything and all the rest of it, and chewing them and the likes. A little more space, right? You can have as much after and all the rest of it as you want, but that smell is not easily going to go away. So I would say, without going into the technicalities, it's absolutely crystal clear that this, it does give a bad smell, and it's from clear and it's totally unequivocal. Nobody's going to deny them that kind of bad scent is something which the Prophet ﷺ disliked, and he turned people away in the masjid from having that. Okay? And as I say, without going into the categories, it definitely is disliked. And are we going to be the kind of people who want to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or are we going to be the kind of people who think, oh, forget it, it's a habit and I can't kick it. Now there's finally a campaign nationally, and it's in fact illegal, isn't it, to smoke in public places. The law is there for us, and we've just kind of turned away from it. So, to answer the question kind of categorically, does the inhaling of smoke, does it break your fast? Well, absolutely clear, crystal clear, it does break your fast. Anything that goes down, basically, your trachea, this kind of, the windpipe, right? The food pipe, as you might want to call it. Anything that goes down there, whether it's liquid, whether it's smoke, whether it's particles of dust, whether it's nourishment of food, if that's going down that windpipe, then your roza is open. Well, it's broken if you do it without, but if you're doing it at the iftar time, then your roza is open. So to answer the question kind of clearly, yes, it does. Right? You will break your fast, and therefore you can open your fast with that. But, what did I say before? Are we going to be the kind of people who want to do things which the Prophet ﷺ liked, or are we going to be the kind of people who want to do things that we want to do? I think sometimes we fall into that second category of just doing things because we are in the habit of doing so, and so we're going to carry on with that. What did the Prophet ﷺ recommend? Right? What did he say about how we should open our fast? And we all know. I don't think anyone here doesn't know. Right? Tamar, right? And ratab, two words that he used. Tamar is like dry dates and the kind of stuff that you get at weddings, the chuare, I think we call them that way. And ratab is your fresh kind of. Ratab literally means moist, right? So kind of fresh dates which are wet, if you like, and moist. So that's the kind of stuff that obviously you can get quite easily from our local cash carriers. So and then it says in the hadith that if you can't find those dates, if those aren't available, because of course for some people, dates are a delicacy, depending on where you live and what circumstances you're in. Then if you don't have those dates, then you should just open your fast with water. All right. So there you have it. If the Prophet ﷺ is recommending you dates and water, then who am I and who are you to say, well, we're going to do it in our way? I don't know what smokers will be thinking. Well, 14 and a half hours. By gosh, if we're used to having 60 cigarettes a day, we are going to be absolutely, pardon my expression, but gagging for it or gasping for it, right? And we are just looking at that second clock there, right, waiting for that adhan, and instead of thinking, right, let's get prepared for adhan, so straight after adhan it means maghrib time, so I need to be in wudu so I can do my salah straight after I've opened my fast. No, let me just make sure that I've got my cigarette lighter in my hand, and I'm going to spark that fag straight away, right? People do think like that, and I have seen them. We're kind of smiling at it, but that does happen. And if there's people amongst you here who are in that state, if you're addicted to that cigarette, then, we got an invitation from the British Heart Foundation, right? They sent us an invitation, they're doing some seminars for imams all up and down the country to try and teach the imams. Again, how wonderful is this? British Heart Foundation teaching imams that, you need to tell your people that cigarette smoke is bad for you, and please don't do it in Ramadan, right? So this is the health service, the National Health Service of this country, taking the opportunity to tell Muslims to stop smoking, and yet there's still many Muslims amongst us who think, well, we're still going to carry on doing that regardless. But after saying that, we should always have good intentions for people. I'm sure there's lots of people who make the intention that this Ramadan is when I'm going to kick that habit. And I suppose that's why we use that phrase, kickstart Ramadan. If you're in this audience, and it could be female, it could be male, I'm not being discriminatory. If you are in that habit of smoking, and it could be cigarette smoke, it could be tobacco, it could be hashish, it could be weed, it could be, I don't know what stuff people put in the roll-up these days. Whatever it is you're putting inside that roll-up, right, just try, make yourselves a promise that this year I am really, right, quite clearly, I am going to give this habit up. And if you can give it up for 30 days, if you give it up for 14 hours, you've shown yourself you've got the willpower. Because all these nicotine patches and all the cures that are out in the market in this day and age, they always have, don't they? Even the adverts. I remember seeing one of them saying, "Look, the ultimate thing that's going to make you stop this is your own willpower." And this leads me very nicely to, I suppose I should have read this verse right at the beginning, that كُتِبَ عَلَيْكُمُ الصِّيَامُ كَمَا كُتِبَ عَلَى الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِكُمْ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. The whole philosophy of fasting. Why is it that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has told us that we should fast? The whole reason why He's given us this order to fast is that you can become much more God conscious. The word taqwa is translated in many things, but my favorite kind of understanding that I've been taught is about wiqaya. Wiqaya literally means a shield, right? It's a shield, it's a force. Taqwa is a force, and it's very easily described as willpower as well, because that's what willpower is, isn't it? Willpower is something within yourselves that leads you to stop you from doing things which you know are not good for you. So in a sense, we can actually translate taqwa as being willpower in that sense. The linguistic meaning of it. So this is what ultimately Ramadan is all about. لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. He gives you this fast so that you can become more conscious of Him and use your willpower more and more and more. Be more stronger within yourselves. That's ultimately what it's all about. And as I said, that's the smoking one. What are the other questions? Let me make sure I answer them before I...
Aftershave.
Aftershave. Itar. Okay, we've already mentioned that the Prophet ﷺ, one of his favourite things out of خير المتاع الدنيا المرأة الصالحة. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives all one of those. The best things of all of this world is a pious, I don't know, let me not say obedient, a pious wife. Okay? And another narration, he says, 4 things are beloved to me. And one of those things, he says, is itar. Okay? Now, I did this as a bit of a riddle for you guys, didn't I, in class one day. The Prophet ﷺ said that the itar of a woman is that which, let's see if anyone of you guys can figure it out. The students, don't answer this one because you know the answers. Don't, right? The itar of a woman is that which can be seen and not be smelt. And the itar of a man is that which can be smelt and that which cannot be seen. So what is the itar of a woman? Foundation cream. Good one. Not sure if the women will agree with that. Anybody?
Jewelry.
Ladies? You know the answer, don't I ask you? Jewelry. Anybody who's not in the class?
Jewelry.
Jewelry. That's a good one. Mehndi, well done. Right. Yes. That's what it is. Henna. Henna is something which you can see and can't. It doesn't give off any odor. It gives off odor while you're putting it on, right? But once it's dry, it doesn't give off any odor. Now, why am I telling you that? What's that got to do with the question? Well, just first and foremost, to differentiate. Itar is placed on your body, alright? And anything that's on your body, right, unless it's absolute najas, doesn't affect your worship in any shape or form, alright? Anything that's najas and impure, remember that word, impure. Alcohol that you, not alcohol, so the itar that you put on, if it's itar, then there's absolutely no ifs and buts about it. If you put it on, and that's why I said to you, men and women are different. If you put it on your bodies, men, because it's only the men who should be having a scent which gives off a scent, right? Women generally, in fact, you know, women should not be wearing any form of scent at all, right? Other than the scent that can be seen, and that is the henna, alright? Now, and there's actually a very, very harsh word of the Prophet ﷺ for those women who do actually wear scent and they go out in the public. Right? I mean, this is not, we're not talking about that nowadays, so I won't mention that. But so this is then specifically only for women, for men. This question, because having itar on your body, if it's on your body, it doesn't affect your fast at all. The reason why people ask that question is because of the alcohol content. Right? Now, for this one, this is one of those issues where, once again, some ulama say one thing and others say other things. Alright? Some ulama say that the alcohol that is contained in aftershave and the like, it's alcohol. And alcohol is something which the Prophet ﷺ, well, not the Prophet ﷺ, but also the Quran says that this is khamar and it's najas and it's something that you should stay well away from. But others have come along and done their research a little bit, and I agree with that second opinion, that the alcohol that is contained in the aftershave is actually not the najas alcohol that is contained, that is mentioned in the Quran and what the Prophet ﷺ said as being an intoxicant. Alright? So alcohol, right, aftershaves with alcohol, right, just to be clear, there are 2 opinions and the scholars have argued about this, and the opinion that I follow and what my I've asked the Mufti Sahib this, and I've also asked other teachers of mine as well, they follow the same opinion. That alcohol isn't a najas alcohol, it's not something which is impure, right? And remember that I said at the beginning, something that is impure, unless it's something that, anything that's on your body doesn't affect your fast, but if it's impure then it can, alright? But this is not, it's not, as I said, it's not an impure thing, so therefore I don't have a problem with that. So that's the alcohol, not the alcohol, that's the aftershave one. But as I said, I've got to repeat again that that is specifically for the men only, because the women shouldn't be wearing perfume and the like anyway, especially in public. In fact, in public. Second, what's the other one?
Sahur.
Sahri, right, yeah. There's a few hadiths. You're going to go and use the fadail. Right. Now again, Sahri is it's a sunnah. There's lots of hadith on the kind of the importance of the Sahri. Again, a very blessed time. The food itself is blessed. Some people say, well, you know, we can't get up and eat. Well, it doesn't matter if you can't get up and eat. It's a bit of a waste of time if you ask me, but especially again in terms of the hours. I mean, let's be pragmatic about this, right? I keep repeating it, we've got 14 and a half hours to get through this year, right? But if you've not had your mum's favourite paratha and all the rest of it, right? The big chunky ones, right? I only eat them once a year. She's not here today, so I can't tell her. Right? Big chunky paratha once a year, and it doesn't just fill you up. But the thing about it, I'm not a biologist like one of Eddie, I'm sure I'll tell you later. But the nutritional value of that paratha will continue throughout the day, and it's almost going to be feeding you. Is that right? He's not in his head. All right. Well, I'll let him do the biological bit of things. Right. So basically, it's a food that is. There you go. See, yeah, it does do something, doesn't it? Go on.
The fats are stored straight away.
There you go.
Therefore, you don't actually. It's very hard for your body to break them down.
Thank you very much.
Therefore, it actually makes you more hungry.
Does it? All right. Okay. Which is the one that doesn't it? Which is that's it. So I knew it was something to do with food. Just didn't know which one. Right. Carbohydrates. So bread. Right. Weetabix. Okay. What else? Potatoes. There you go. He's a food specialist at that. Right. Anything else? Tuna. Has that got lots of carbohydrates? Protein, yes. Stuff with lots of... Listen, none of that protein box stuff that you guys have, right? Is that allowed?
Protein shake.
That protein mix thing. I suppose if you have that in the morning, is that going to kind of keep with you for the... I'll tell you what, if I was in Egypt, what would we have? Food in the morning, I'll tell you, it's the best thing ever. You guys should go to Egypt to take food. Food is basically a dal, and it's full of carbohydrates, isn't it? That's all it is. Right? It's a very, very rich, very thick, pasty dal, which is undescribable unless you actually eat it and taste it, right? It tastes absolutely wonderful. That's all I'll say, right? And it's an acquired taste, right? But it is. That's all they have. They have a plate of food in the morning, and that's it. You're sorted for the rest of your day because it lasts with you all the way through. And so stuff with got high carbohydrates. So maybe you should have a roti without the gyro and all the rest of it, right? I'm telling you, I'm still going to have a paratha, so I forget what you say. Right, and rice, yeah, that's it. Lots of rice and fish. Yeah, okay. Maybe we should have a list. This is something that we should have a list of recommended foods. So there you go. The reason why I did that is because I know lots of people say, forget it, right? I'm not going to bother. I've made my intention in the evening. And I know young people who do this, right? I've made my intention for the fast the night before, and I'm not going to get... Don't wake me up in the morning, Mom. Just don't, right? I want to get to work in time. I want to get to school in time. Don't wake me up. How many times have you said that to your mum's head? Look at that, he's smiling, he's agreed. Right? Don't wake me up. If you say that, listen, let me tell you this much, right? I say this often to people. If you're going to make an intention, make a good intention. Because if you die the minute after making that intention, you will gain the reward for not doing that thing, even though you've not been able to do it because you died. That's the great thing about good intentions. And this is why we say intention. Intention is the basis of all actions. Right? Don't make this intention that I'm not going to get up in the morning, because then what you're saying is that I am not going to do something which my beloved Prophet ﷺ loved to do. Now, if you start thinking on those lines, and if you're in a very strict, one of our friends from Bolton, if you're very strict like those, then you could actually be going down a slippery stroke, because there are some people who say that if you say, right, that I do not like something which our blessed Prophet ﷺ liked, then you could be going down a very, very slippery slope. I'm not going to say the word that they would say, but basically it's a dangerous thing to say. Right? So avoid that, I know that you're probably thinking, well, I'm being realistic here. There's no way I'm getting up at 30 times. And so please just don't bother. Give me that extra 2-3 hours, and I need to work the next morning. I need to go into sleep. I need to go to college, school, whatever. I need that time. But if you say that, just think about this fact. That by saying those words, you are going against, categorically, you are going against the words of the Prophet ﷺ, where he said, wake up for Sahib and eat something, even if it's a small amount. Right? Even if it's a small amount. Just get up. Just getting up is going to be hugely rewarding for you. You might not see that reward now, You might not see that reward. When we talk about reward, when we talk about thawab, when we talk about benefits, remember we're talking about heavenly reward. We're talking about thawab that we won't be able to see here and now. It will be stuff that is going to be accountable on our, inshallah, on our books of deeds, good deeds, which will be shown on the Day of Judgment, inshallah al-aziz. So, you know, when you're struggling for that, wake up in the morning, then just bear those words of the Blessed Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam in mind. You can find a couple of those hadith that would be good to add on to that. What was the fourth question? Right. Here we go. Fadl al-Su'ud. Okay, this is just to check. Remember these words if you can. I don't see people with pens and papers. No, that's one of the reasons why we had it down here on the floor like this. تَسَحَّرُوا فَإِنَّ فِي السُّحُورِ بَرْكَةٌ. Right? This is on the authority, well, not in the authority of Imam Bukhari, but narrated in Bukhari. Wake up for sahri. Right? Wake up for suhoor. I was downstairs in the creche earlier on, and they've got this. The staff in the creche have given the children a timetable, right? It'd be really good. In fact, nip down somebody and we'll get that. Just go down and get the timetable. You'll see it in the creche, right? It's got a timetable for kids to tick, right? And one of those tick sheets, this is 4-year-olds kids, by the way. The creche downstairs are 4 to 6, right? And the teachers have given the kids a timetable with a tick sheet for their, not just for their fajr, but for their suhoor as well. And it says on their suhoor, and I said to a little girl who was there in the creche, I said, what's suhoor? And she said, you don't know what suhoor is? I said, no, I don't know what suhoor is. She said, suhoor, sahri. And I went, oh, right, you're learning the Arabic word for it, are you? So they were encouraging the young, this is 4 or 5-year-old kids, right, being told to wake up for suhoor, right? And this is it. Tasahharu, wake up for sahar, for suhoor. فَإِنَّ فِي السُّحُورِ, this is the word. فَإِنَّ فِي السَّحُورِ بَرْكَةٌ. Oh, by the way, there's a spelling mistake. Have you got it? Slot. Slot. And one of the ladies go down, you go down. Right? تَسَحَّرُوا فَإِنَّ فِي السَّحُورِ بَرْكَةٌ. My sister over there, she's smiling like mad because she knows how bad I was for sahri when I was younger. Alright. And then, about the food, right? This is why we did the list of food. عَلَيْكُمْ بِغَدَاءِ السَّحْرِ. So it's not just wake up for suhoor, right? And just say, yes, I woke up now and go back to sleep. Right? No, not good enough. عَلَيْكُمْ بِغَدَاءِ السَّحْرِ فَإِنَّهُ هُوَ الْغِذَاءُ الْمُبَارَكُ. Right? It's a blessed food. So whatever they give, again, this is a real bad habit, and Allah Ta'ala said it was all from this bad habit, and I put my hand up first of all. And I have in the past been in this habit of looking at something or tasting something and saying, no, I don't like this, right? We should not ever do that. It's a blessing from Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. The Prophet ﷺ, if he took something which he disliked, he would simply just leave it there. He would never comment on it and never criticize food. And what does this say about the food? عَلَيْكُمْ بِغِذَاءِ السَّحْرِ. It is incumbent upon you. The word alaykum literally means it's almost like a necessity for you, right? It doesn't mean fard here because as we said that suhoor is sunnah, but it's an essential part of your sahar that you wake up, and once you have woke up, you eat something, right? Why? فَإِنَّهُ هُوَ الْغِذَاءُ الْمُبَارَكُ. Because this food, this ghidha, this nourishment that you get, is not your average food. It's not just cornflakes and Weetabix and bread and paratha and all that. It's not that. It's ghidha al-mubarak. It's blessed food. Right? It might not say blessed food on the label, but it is blessed food. That's the one. Right, just to show you what our little kids get up to. Look at that. Use this is on the far press. Use this chart below to keep a record of your sawm, fast and salat, prayer during Ramadan. The first thing they've asked them to do is tick on the suhoor. Have you woke up for suhoor or not? Right? Did you wake up for your fajr? Did you do your dhuhr, asr, maghrib, iftar, and then isha? Right? Did you do all that? And this is the way I'm encouraging little kids at the age of 5 years old, 6 years old, sometimes 4 years old, sometimes. So there you go. That's sahar. Are we done? Is that the four? Alright, Tarawih was my favourite one. Right. Tarawih prayer is sunnah mu'akkada, right? And essentially it's sunnah mu'akkada for both men and for women. I'll just answer some other questions which people ask in relation to Tarawih. What was the question in the post?
Do you have to read?
Do you have to read? Right. Now, I'm glad you phrased it like that because that's something that I want to talk about. When we say in Islam, right, you have to do this, what you have to remember is that different categories of have to. Okay? Different categories of having to do something. We know about al-fard, we know about the sunnah, right? We know about mustahab and mubah, and there's certain things that we have to stay away from. This is a very general phrase that we use. Do we have to do it? And I think normally, right, the way that we think, the way that we're brought up, it's like, just tell me yes or no. Is it something that you have to do? And for this one, I'd have to say that yes, you do have to do it. Even though some people can say to me, well, no, you don't have to do it because it's only sunnah. Alright? This is why I said that when we're used to, when we say have to, we've got this very simple mentality in our brains that it's either yes or a no. Right? Well, in Islam, we know that it's not as simple as that. We go upon different categories of action. But again, without going into categories of action, because that's not the kind of mentality that I want you to have. The kind of mentality that I want you to have and to go away with today is, what if the Prophet ﷺ, this is an incorrect sentence, if the Prophet ﷺ was physically amongst us here now, right, how would he do things? That's the kind of criterion that you should be asking yourselves. Alright? And often, when people ask difficult questions sometimes, not for the sake of increasing their knowledge of understanding, some people have got a habit of advice back, just asking difficult questions for the sake of asking difficult questions. And what I often do to answer those difficult questions, I just make a short prayer and I just think to myself, if the Prophet ﷺ was right here, right now, and he was here doing this thing, how would he deal with it? And alhamdulillah, 9 times out of 10, I've yet to be failed on that kind of mentality. There's always a wise answer that comes out of it. The Prophet ﷺ himself, we know, didn't read Taraweeh in the way that we read it ourselves today. In the sense that he didn't have the Jamaat, and he didn't have lines and lines of people, and he didn't have the full 20 doing it as we did. He did it on his own, without the Jama'ah that we're used to. Right? But did he do Taraweeh? Yes, he did. Because if he didn't, where would it have come from? Why would then, later on, Sayyidina Umar ibn Khattab then go ahead and congregate the Taraweeh and make it into a formal prayer like we have today? Why would he then comment, نِعْمَ الْبِدْعَةُ هَذِهِ? Right? It's a good thing that you've started here. And so, if it's good enough, this is my simple answer. If it's good enough for someone like Sayyidina Umar ibn Khattab, if it's good enough for the Prophet ﷺ, if it's good enough for the Sahaba and the companions, then who the hell, sorry, pardon my French, right? Well, not even swearing, but who the hell, pardon my phrase, are we to say that I'm not going to do this because I'm tired, because I've got work tomorrow, because I'm this and because I'm that? People are really, time management is a module, isn't it, that they're teaching in business degrees these days, right? And all I say for people who've got heavy schedules is that Ramadan and the blessings of Ramadan are going to come once a year. Right? Who knows if we are going to be able to even witness them? We've still got a week or so left. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us all the ability to witness that beautiful time. But, who knows if we're going to be able to witness it next year? And there will be many of us sat here in this audience who, for them, the Quran is an annual thing. Right? Forget opening it and reading it, but even listening to it. And that's, when I said this last Taraweeh, that it's actually one of the miracles of the Quran. Right? That people who have absolutely no clue whatsoever about what is being said by the Imam Sahib when he's reading the Quran, yet they can stand for 2 hours listening to it, and they can be tired as anything, and they can be bored as anything, and yet they'll still stand and listen. I think that's a miracle of the Quran, that people can actually do that. Because if there was any other thing being recited, there's no way that people could stand for that amount of time. Right? So, Taraweeh, Salah, yes, it's Sunnah, yes, it's not an absolutely essential thing, but do you have to do it? I'll say, yes, you do have to do it. And I'll say that you make your damnedest, you prepare yourself in a way that you do that properly. And this is another little recommendation. I know some people, last Ramadan, one brother said to me, he said, you know what, I go Taraweeh shopping. And I said, what's that? He says, did he say shopping or hopping, I think he said. He said, I go Taraweeh hopping. I said, what is that, Taraweeh hopping? He says, I go to one masjid, and then I go to another one, and then I go to another. Alhamdulillah, this year, Brother Shfaq, every single masjid in Rochdale has got exactly the same timetable. Is that not right? Right? Isn't that beautiful? But I think the Taraweeh time actually differs, right? The Sahib and the Iftar time is exactly the same. But again, different mosques at different times for Tarawih. But he said, I go around hopping, doing Tarawih here, doing Tarawih there, doing Tarawih there. And I said, why do you do this? He said, well, just to get blessings of different people. I said, well, hang on a minute, what was the whole point of Tarawih? What was the whole point of the Quran being recited? What was it all about? Why did the Prophet ﷺ commend, right? Sorry, Sayyidina Umar, why did he commend those people for getting together and doing it together? And I said, why did he say, نِعْمَ الْبِدْعَةُ هَذِهِ? Why did he say that? He didn't just say it because it was a good thing, just because for the sake of it. He said it because the Quran was being recited all the way through and people were being revived. Remember, these weren't people like me and you who didn't have a clue what the Imam Sahib was saying. They understood the language of the Quran. And that's something that every single one of us should do. Right? Make that a target for ourselves. They understood what the Imam Sahib was saying. Right? So for them it was a refresher, right? To listen to the words of the Quran from the Imam so that they could have direction there and then. And get the reward in that. So it was a continual refresher course, if you like. And that's the kind of way that's the mentality that you should have. That you're going to start behind one Imam Sahib, one Hafiz, and you're going to listen to the start and you're going to go all the way to the end with him. So you have then, or yourselves, not being incomplete in just listening to the entire Quran. Right? And I know sometimes, especially the kind of work that I do, and we get busy over Ramadan and stuff, we get invited to go here, there, but sometimes it's not possible. If it's an absolute impossibility, then of course, yeah, يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ بِكُمُ الْيُسْرَ وَلَا يُرِيدُ بِكُمُ الْعُسْرَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that's the kind of a maxim, isn't it, in the Quran, that He wants for you ease, He doesn't want hardship for you. So if, that's my recommendation, but that's not to say that, if it becomes exceptionally hard for you to do that, right, then, there isn't any allowance. Of course there is allowance, right? That's just a recommendation for you. So I hope that I've answered all those 4 questions.
Just clarify whether it's better 8 or 20 or
right.
What should you do?
The 20 rak'at, in the 8 rak'at issue, I really don't know. I don't have my pen. Yeah, I'm not got the pen with you. I wish I had it. Pardon me, those of my students who've heard this one before, this answer before. The question is about, is Salat al-Tarawih, should you read it 10, should you read it 10 times? Should you read 20 or should you read 8? Right? And without going into the hadith, because the thing is, if I quote to you various different narrations that we have in support of 20 rak'at, then what's going to happen is that the other party who say, well, there's 8, there's narrations for 8 as well, they'll start firing those at you. Alright? So now we're going to get into a debate amongst literature, hadith literature. I've got a very simple answer for you in regards to is it 8 or is it 20? Right? And it's a very easy one, a little bit complicated, but it involves a little bit of Arabic grammar. And I apologize to those grammarians amongst you who've already seen this. That we have. Okay. The word Tarawih, right? And please let's try to say the word right. What's the word? This I've heard Tarawih and I've heard Tarawiyah and I've heard what's the other one? Tarawiyah, right? It's for those of you whose Arabic is not so brilliant, right? This word here is Tarawih, and this word is Tarawih with an 8 at the end. Alright? There's no b in there, there's no v in there, it's not Tarawiyah and it's not Tarawiyah and it's not. But I suppose when we speak Punjabi, alright, I'll let you off because that's Punjabi, isn't it? But if you're saying the word in Arabic, then let's say the word properly. The word Tarawih is a plural word. Right? This word in the Arabic language, it's a plural word. What's a plural word, Samia? A plural word, anyone? What's a plural word? Plural word is something that's you've got what? 2 or more, is that right? Yeah. Right. In the English language, plural is 2 or more. Right? In the Arabic language, plural is not 2 or more. Because in the Arabic language, we've got something called the tathniyah, the dual. Correct me if I'm wrong, Maulana. Alright? Now, in the English, plural is 2 or more. But in the Arabic, this is the English grammar. Right? But in the Arabic, we've got tathniyah. Let me tell you what I mean. Then we have is one. What does tarwiha mean, by the way? I didn't even tell you that. Tarwiha means rest. Okay? Chill time. Take a break. Have a Kit Kat. Alright? That's what you should have. That's a suggestion. Hey, let's have Kit Kats this Tarawih. We'll get loads more people. Alright? Tarwiha means break. Rest. Okay? It means rest. Salatul Tarawih. Right? Salatul Tarawih means prayer of, if that means rest, what do you reckon Tarawih means? If it's plural, restings? No, that's a good word. Right? Prayer of the rests. I'll say that. Restings, I don't know if that's the word. Alright? So let's follow this clearly. Tarwiha means one rest. Tarwihatan means two rests. Okay? They'll all fall into shape in a minute. Right? Don't be worried. Tarawih means how many rests now?
None.
Figure it out. Sorry. What does tarawih mean? If that means one rest, and we've said that plural means what in the Arabic? In English it means two or more. In the Arabic it means what?
One or more.
We've got a word for one. We've got shake my hand. Right. Little Ellie got it there. In Arabic, plural, right, means in English it means two or more. In Arabic it means three or more. So tarawih means three rests or more. At minimum, how many rests must it have in tarawih? Three rests at minimum. Can we get that in our heads, please? How many rests?
Three.
How many rests?
Three.
How many rests?
Three.
Right. It's really important that you get that. Trust me. It's very important. Have you understood what's on the board? Right? Are you sure?
Yeah.
Brothers over there, can you see that? Are you sure you understand that? Right? Tarwiha means one rest. If you can't, I suggest you come down and have a look. Seriously, it's very important. Tarwiha, one rest. Tarwihatan, two rests. Tarawih, three or more. Right? And I'm going to finish on this. Right? Three rests or more. Now, what happens in Salatul Tarawih that doesn't happen in any other Taraweehs? It's got it if you have rests. Right. Ladies over there, you can see that frame up there. Wonderful frame. See who said frames weren't good, eh? Knocking these frames. Right. What's that over there? What did it say? Don't read it out from this one. Yeah.
سبحان ذي الملك والملكوت
سبحان ذي الملك والملكوت
سبحان ذي العزة والعظمة
سبحان ذي العزة والعظمة
والهيبة والقدرة
والهيبة والقدرة
والكبرياء والجبروت سبحان الملك الحي الذي
سبحان الملك الحي الذي
لا ينام ولا يموت سبوح قدوس ربنا
سبوح قدوس ربنا
ورب الملائكة والروح اللهم أجرنا من النار
اللهم أجرنا من النار
يا مجير يا مجير يا مجير
يا مجير يا مجير يا مجير صلاة محمد عليه الصلاة والسلام 1, 2, 3, 4 we need one more. Okay, right, here we go. It's all going to fall into place now. I told you I wasn't just drawing things for the fun of it. I never do things for the fun of it. Right, 8 Taraweehs. 8 Taraweehs. What does the word Taraweeh mean? Hafiz Sahib? 3 rests or more. Let me repeat it. Does the word Taraweeh mean 3 rests or more? It's all going to fall into place now. 8 Taraweehs, right? These are the 8 people, right? Okay? How many? Just so you can answer this one. How many rests are happening here? How many rests are going to happen when they're doing 8 Taraweehs? 2. At maximum, if you give them that one there, let's say you give them a rest at the beginning, or let's say, alright, give them a rest at the end, because you can't really have a rest at the beginning, you just started. How can you have a rest at the beginning? That's not a rest, is it? You've got to do 4 rak'ah, because remember the rest is for the break. After you've done 4 lengthy rak'at, and if you read Salat al-Tarawih here, the first 2 you'll know what lengthy Tarawih are. Right? After 4 lengthy, long Surah al-Baqarah Taraweehs at the beginning, then you have a rest. And my gosh, you have a rest. After Sahib, may God bless his soul. Give him long life and give him the ability to give a little bit shorter. Right, so that's one rest that we have. Right? That we have. As the penny dropped. 1 rest, 2 rests. Salatul Tarwihatan. What they're doing is Salatul Tarwihatan. Salatul Tarwihatan. So those brothers and sisters who are doing Salatul Tarawih with 8, fine, go do your 8, but don't call it Salatul Tarawih. Because you're an insult to the Arabic grammar, and you're an insult to the language. Tarawih. That's what you've got, it's there. Yes? But look at these wonderful brothers and sisters who do another one here. Tarwih. And then they have another one here. And Baji, we're going to have tic tac this year, right? Right, so I hope the budget can take that. So 1, 2, 3 or
5.
3 or
5.
More. 3 or more. That's what we said. 1, 2, 3, 4. That is what you call Salatul Tarawih. Rest. I think we should take pictures of that. MashaAllah, Jazakumullah khair, that's it, we've done. Thank you very much for listening. I'm going to give you opportunity just 5 minutes and then Mulana Sahib is going to take over. Any extra additional questions that you've got still in your mind that are, haven't been asked and haven't been questioned. If there's anything that the sisters want to ask kind of privately, that's fine. You've got Bajin Muna over there, can pass on questions through her. Any other issues here, lads? If you're embarrassed about anything, fine, be embarrassed, but you can ask somebody. Don't be shy to ask.
Don't be shy, I'll give it a try.
In
Right,
Rose,
gentleman there. What was your
in
question?
Rose, say if you take
Right,
an
ladies, we've
injection.
got a question here.
In Rose, say if you need to take an injection, do you make your Rose?
Good stuff. That's the kind of question I like. Right. If you need to take an injection
For a medical reason.
for medical reasons, is this
Forget
one
the
that
medical reason.
you talk about the different levels?
Steroids.
Well, that's what it said, injection. Injection, right, basic rule of breaking your fast. Somebody asked me a really wonderful question. If I'm giving blood, right, does that break your rosa? I thought to myself, hang on a minute, giving blood, how does that break my rosa? Anything that goes in, that breaks your rosa. If it's going out, it doesn't break your rosa. So the injection depends what it is. If it's an intake, right, for medicinal purposes, I hope, not for recreational purposes, right? Then you shouldn't be doing that stuff anyway, right? So yes, if it's an injection that's going into the bloodstream, it's going into your body, and of course, if it's nourishing, then it's going to be, it will break your organ. But remember, the other thing that you need to say, if you are in a state of ill health, then وإن كان مريضا أو على سفر فعدة من أيام أخرى. So Al-Baqarah tells us that if you are fasting, if you are an ill person, or if you're on a long journey that's strenuous, then you don't have to fast. فعدة من أيام أخرى. Then make up your fasting other days. Okay? To answer your question? Good stuff.
Does that mean nickel patches, I think, as well? Break your rosa. Nicotine patches.
I knew I had to do my research on something. Right, nicotine patches. Right, can you answer this question first of all? Is it, from what I understand of nicotine patches, they play with your mind, is that right?
I don't
They make
know.
you think things. They make you not have the cravings. Any Dr. Sahib, where's you gone? Do you know anything about these nicotine patches? They release what? Into the blood system through a patch. It's actually going to your...
Yeah.
That's right, that's right.
I don't know.
Right, if it again, the simple rule, what we said before, if it's going in, right, if it's going in, if it's a patch and it actually makes some kind of hole in there and it goes into your bloodstream, right, through pores, right, okay. See, I need to brush up on my medicinal. Right, your skin, this is right, your skin, I should know this because my daughter's skin's not very good. Your skin has got some pores, right? Do you know what pores are? It's the stuff that if you don't clear up, you get spots and stuff, right? Ladies will know a lot about that because they've got all this cleansing equipment, right? Pores, it's the stuff that where your sweat comes out of as well, right? So your nicotine patch, you're not listening, nicotine is released into your bloodstream through the pores. Yes? So is it going in?
Yeah.
Yes. Has it broken your nose?
Yes.
Can't take
See,
it.
you answered yes. Creams. See, I knew the Willie ladies would have one. Creams are not nourishing, are they? Yes? It's not going to be infecting your bloodstream in any sense. It's just affecting the healthy nature of your skin, and no, that doesn't affect you at all. Yes?
Regarding moon sighting, what's the reason for the Morocco?
What's the reason for Morocco? Because Morocco's a top country. No. Morocco is, right, I'll finish on this, right, because we're running out of time. I'm glad you asked that, moon sighting committee. We need to be damn proud of ourselves in this country. Not in this country, in this town. And if you've got relatives and friends and uncles and aunts and, you know, Jackson, Brown, all the rest of it, outside of Rochdale, then please do your best to advertise Rochdale. Okay, please. Shall I tell you why? Because Rochdale, from my knowledge, and if I'm wrong, tell me please, is the only town that has a single unified Ru'yat Hilal committee which contains Diobandis. Page 7 and 8 the Times this week, please do have a read. Right? What was it yesterday's paper? Yeah? Diobandis, Brelvis, Jamaat Islami, UK Islamic Mission, which is Jamaat Islami, and who else is there? The small members of the Bengali community, some, right? Because they don't fit in any of those other categories. But those three, forget anybody else, but those three Jamaat, those three groups or sects that we've got in this country, right? Anyone who's older than 30 will know that it was absolutely impossible to get a Diobandi and a Brelvi scholar in exactly the same room 10 years ago. Now it's happening, right? And it's happening every single month. And we should be very, very proud of this fact that Rochdale have unified. It answers your question directly. The Maulanas, the Imams, right, for many, many years have been battling various different formula of how to sort out the Eid issue, right? Some say, to hell with everything else, Makkah, this is the brilliant, this is their mentality, listen to this. Makkah is in Saudi, Medina is in Saudi, the Prophet ﷺ is in Saudi, Saudi is our Markaz, it's a single unifying thing that the entire world said, let's just follow what they say, to hell with everybody else. That's formula number one. Formula number two says, no, the Saudis have got it wrong. And even now in Saudi, last year I told you I was in Medina Sharif, and local people in Saudi themselves, I spoke to many people, I made it an issue to speak to Medinans myself, not foreigners, but people of Medina who are Arabians themselves and love that land. And they say themselves that the Saudi authorities got it wrong. Not just once, not twice, but many, many times. So the second formula is, no, we can't follow Saudi because they get it wrong. Right? The third formula, Sumu li ru'yatihi, waftiru li ru'yatihi. The Prophet ﷺ said what? He didn't say go follow Saudi. He said, look at the moon, and when you have evidence that you have seen it, right, when you've got the witness that somebody has seen the moon physically with his own eye, then you open your fast or you close your fast. You start at the end of the month, right, with that. So where did Morocco come into all of this? In this country, the problem we have is that the moon is very, very often, maybe nowadays it's, you know, the sky is a little bit clearer, it's within the kind of mid-summer months and it's clear, but many, many months in this year, in this country, the clouds are always out and it's very difficult to see. So what do we do? Let me ask you a question. You know the timetable outside? Do you know your namaz timetable? Where do the numbers come from? Do you ever think about this? Forget Ramadan for a minute.
Sunrise,
right? Your normal timetable for namaz, right? Where do you get your timetable from? Where do the numbers come from? You ever thought about that?
Time.
Does anyone know? Do you know?
The sunrise.
Local mosques just print it up, you just make them up.
Clock.
Is that right?
Sunrise.
The calendar.
Where do they come from? Where do you get the numbers from?
The clock.
The Greenwich Royal, what's it called? Greenwich Royal Observatory. The Royal Observatory in Greenwich. Right, it's down south. It's this big, big building, right? Where they've got a big clock. Have you heard of GMT? Have you heard of PMT, Pakistani Mean Time? Well, GMT is Greenwich Mean Time. And the clock in the entire world, if I'm not wrong, is based upon that clock in Greenwich. There's a clock there physically. It's brilliant. Go and see it, right? Okay? Now, we get our timings from there. We get our timings from there throughout the year. Nobody complains about it then. All of a sudden in Ramadan we say we're going to get our information from the observatory. They say, oh, you're following the kuffar. You're following the kuffar. Hang on a minute. Yes, last month in Shawwal, right? What were you doing? Where did you get your timetable from? No answer. Computer, where did they get it from? Right? Internet, where did they get it from? Anyway, I'm going to stop, otherwise I'm not going to get any time. Thank you very much for your time. I'm going to make a sharp exit now. I've got a bit of an issue at home that I've got to deal with. Maulana Ali, Uthman Ali Dan, I was going to say give him a round of applause. Thank you very much for listening, and I do appreciate all of your presence here this evening. And everything that you've learnt and anything that you haven't learnt, forgive me for that, but anything that you have learnt, that you benefited from, please pass it on. Right? You're all now responsible for passing on the knowledge that you have. If anything that I've said that you didn't know from before and it filled in a gap somewhere, then please go and pass it on. It's an essential.